Whether your life is a life of favor or a life of difficulty is a matter of choice and perspective. Let me explain myself. I've been reading the book of Genesis, and when I was reading the book of the story of Jacob, for some reason I was just amazed at how much favor he had in life. Favor was upon his life. Remember, he was the second born, but God chose him to be a firstborn, and then he goes to his uncle's Laban's house, and God prospers him, whereas he comes to the house empty-handed. By the time he's leaving, he has so much cattle and sheep, and he has a wife, two wives actually, and children. He goes back so blessed of the Lord. And even when he goes back, he expects that his brother Esau will fight him, but he actually sends, goes and meets him with a lot of, his friends and the people around him, and they welcome him so warmly, and then later on in his life, he thinks he's lost a son, Joseph, but God has sent Joseph ahead of him to Egypt so that he can preserve the family when there's famine. What a favored life. But what struck me about Jacob is when he goes to Pharaoh's house and Pharaoh asks him, how old are you? Jacob says, I'm 130-year-old, and the years of my pilgrimage in this world have been short and difficult. And that struck me, because why would he say his life is difficult? When I actually examined his life, he had reason to say his life was difficult. Remember, he had to run away from home. He goes to Laban's house, his uncle, and his uncle swindles him. Instead of giving him Rachel as his wife, he first gives him Leah, and he has to work another 7 years to get Rachel. And even when he's going back home, he has to be afraid of his brother, but it works out well for him. And then he loses his wife, and then he thinks he's lost his son Joseph to wild animals. So it's true that he had some difficult points in his life, in his journey. But surely, was it objective for him to conclude his life as being difficult? I felt like that might not have been an objective. Maybe he would have said something like, I have had difficult times in my life, in this 130 years God has given me. But truly God has been good to me. See, even where I am today, I am here in Pharaoh's house, and I'll have food because of what God has done in my life, sent my son ahead of me. But he chooses to say that my life has been difficult. That is how he summarizes his life with his own words. And that and upon reflecting on that, I came to the conclusion that how you see your life, whether it's a life of favor or it's a life of difficulties, is really a matter of perspective, and that perspective is a choice that you need to make. Because the Bible tells us that it's true, in this world we'll have tribulation, but also we know that it's true, if we are children of God, the favor of God is upon us, and because of that favor we can see it in our lives. God has done things. If you examine your life, you'll see that God's favor is upon your life. So if you choose to focus on the difficulty or you choose to focus on the favor, it's really a matter of choice. So it's up to you. Will your life be counted as a life full of God's favor or full of difficulties?